Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. Before we proceed to the topic of bay'ah, a few more comments on bid'ah. And that is that you should not, now there's another very important task, is to figure out what actually is the negative bid'ah and what is actually acceptable in deen. So what you normally have, you find people end up on two extremes. One extreme is everything is bid'ah. There's another extreme, nothing is bid'ah. Right? And unfortunately, a lot of harm has been done to the genuine, true Sharia, compliant, sunnah, taqwa, tazkiyah and tasawwuf by those people who also take the name tasawwuf, but they think nothing is bid'ah. So now I want to openly explain to you some things which are negative bid'at, as in dhalala. They are going astray. And maybe then I may pick one as an example to show you some conceptual understanding. So for example, to build any type of structure over the grave of a person, you can call it tomb, you can call it shrine, you can call it mazar. Now the thing is that, why? Because it goes against a clear prohibition. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly prohibited, explicitly, erecting any form of construction over a grave. So what does it mean? So when you're looking at either its content or method, right? So don't think that you can misuse the classification I shared with you. This is a method. So they're saying, okay, this is a method of honoring the dead. And but the problem is, the test was there must be nothing in it that goes against the Qur'an and Hadith. And there's a Hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ said, you cannot do this, so this is not an acceptable method. Right? But the problem is that group also hijacks this classical term from this Hadith in Sahih Muslim, so it says this is a sunnatun hasana. It's a bid'atun hasana. They take the Sahih Muslim and what I told you in Sahih Bukhari was Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu said about Taraweeh. But khair, I showed it to you already. Sahih Bukhari, Sayyidina Umar said, Ni'matul bid'ah hadha. Means a good bid'ah, good sunnah. So no, that's not a good bid'ah, a good sunnah, because you're going against a clear text. Alright? Okay. Second example of something that's a bid'ah, but makes it a bit more tricky. So that is called urs, to celebrate the death anniversary of someone. So for example, I say Imam Bukhari passed away on such and such Islamic date. So what I'm going to do is every time that date comes in the year, or comes once a year, every year on that date, I'm going to do something. Let's leave aside, that's the second thing, what exactly I do. Now, there's no hadith that is against this. There's no hadith where the Prophet said, do not commemorate the death of a person. Right? So then when you run this on the workshop, you won't find any text that's against it. That's another reason why you cannot only be a textualist. Right? Strictly speaking, you won't have anything against this act if you follow the Salafi definition of the workshop, because all you have is the texts. However, when you follow the usuli understanding of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, you took out the understanding of the text, the principles of the text, the usul of the text, the meta-structure of the text. That broader understanding of the text, this notion of urs and commemorating the death of a person is against that. Right? This is why sometimes people would tell you that, okay, look, if the day that a person passed away should be honored and commemorated because they were wonderful, pious, great scholar, wali of Allah Ta'ala, then way before Imam Bukhari or Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani or Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Haqi, way before that we have to commemorate the day of death of all Sahaba Ikram. And if you think about that, probably there were 124,000 Sahaba Ikram in the 360 days in the lunar year. So probably every day of the year must be a day when some Sahabi must have passed away. So every day of the year there must have been some wali that passed away. So what are you going to do? Every day there's going to have to be some type of festival urs. Alright? Second, that if this was something that would bring us closer. Second is that you have to see that what goal do you get from this method. Remember I said the content has to be a goal. So what goal are you claiming this method gets you? What goal, what is obtained by doing the urs? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If I give you a method of making dua of Asma'ul Husna, something is obtained because the content is mentioned in Qur'an and Hadith. So this is something that the content is not mentioned. If they claim, no, it's not content, it's method, it's the method to get what goal, what content? There's no answer to that question either. That's why it's a wrong thing to do. Alright? So these are a few examples, right? There's a whole long list. There's so many things that actually are bid'ah. In the sense of that, bid'ah meaning, in the one hadith of the Prophet where he used bid'ah exclusively negatively, that is going astray. There's a whole long list of them. Alright? I gave you two as an example. Alright? Sometimes what happens is if you allow a bid'ah, it can end up into shirk. So these two are again a good example. So if you allow somebody to build a construction over the grave, next thing what happens, they start sitting underneath that construction. Third thing that happens, they sit underneath that construction, they make dua to Allah Ta'ala for the forgiveness of the person in the grave, that's fine. They make dua to Allah Ta'ala for themselves, that's fine. But next thing that happens, they start making dua to the person in the grave. So now you ended up not on bid'ah, you ended up on outright shirk, right? So this is why it's also very important. But that doesn't mean at the same time that I stressed to you the importance of not allowing any bid'ahs to clear the door of shirk, but things that are not bid'ah, I take them away also. Now some people, and this was a mistake that Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala made, he felt like what they say in English, if you give a person an inch, they'll go a mile. So better not to give them that inch. So there's a certain thing that is permissible for them to do, and he knew that. But he said, don't, because you're opening up the door. You're opening the path to misguided innovation, which will then open the door to shirk. But the reality is nobody can do that. If Allah Ta'ala gave that inch, if in Allah Ta'ala's deen of Islam, Sharia, this thing is permissible, you can't take away that permissibility by saying that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You can't do that. Nobody has the right to that. You can't narrow what Allah Ta'ala has allowed. You can't expand it into what's prohibited. So what should you do? So what should have been done, rather than this backlash, and to be fair, now take the historical approach. If you were living at the time of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, so there were some serious problems in Damascus at that time. There was a lot of tomb worship, grave worship, shrine worship. These things were going on. Right? So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala had a reaction to that, which is natural, which is based on his taqwa, his love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's natural, but it is still historical and contextual. Right? Now what should have been done is if you say, do you understand that expression? If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Right? So what should have been done is don't take back the inch because you didn't give it to them. Allah Ta'ala gave it to them. What should have been done is what I call, you should have built mile-high borders on that inch. You should have built mile-high borders on that inch. So let me give you a contemporary example. So there was a place in Makkah Mukarramah where Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was his home in which he was born. Right? Okay. Now that's part of your history. You are allowed in Deen to preserve history. Proof of that is from the workshop. Allah Ta'ala mentions that travels the earth and see the historical civilizations. Now sometimes Allah, and most of that Allah mentions that go see the remains of the ones that Allah Ta'ala destroyed. Right? But there's certainly a notion of history. There's a notion of history. So that much is permissible. It is permissible to keep that place and remember that this is the place where Sayyidina Rasulullah was born. Now what happened was that some people took it too far. And apparently they were going there and thinking that there is some extra reward in doing worship here. So they would say, I want to go and pray 2 nafil there. Well, no, that's true. That's incorrect. There's no difference in praying 2 nafil there than there is praying 2 nafil in your hotel room. Right? So the Saudi government, they saw that these people. So what did they do? What they could have done is mile-high borders. They could have just put a fence around and said, look, you can come and see it, but you can't be doing these things over here. But ultimately they decided, those of you who know, finally they just destroyed it, right? And they have done many such things. They have destroyed things. Alright? So that is sometimes an overreaction. So better rather through education, targheeb, also through some type of, like I told you, borders, barriers. You have to protect people from falling into bid'ah, but you can't remove something. And there is native Saudis who were against this. In fact, I think there's a society, if you Google it, Society for the Preservation of the History of Makkah, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Saudis. It's not like Desi Hanafi run. And it's certainly not Bid'ati run. It's Saudis who also realize this is a history. You should not be erasing these things. Alright? Even there were some masajid in Medina Munawwara. Those who went on Umrah earlier, you may have gone to the Sabah masajid. It was part of the things that a person would see. That's also all been wiped off. You people won't be able to see that. In fact, if you go now, there used to be steps where you could go down to the well of Zamzam. So Zamzam is historical predating Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu. Now it's all, you can't go down and see it. It's all walled off or floored off or however you want to call it. Etc., etc. Alright? So anyway, so that's about all we can tell you about this notion of bid'ah. Alright. Shaykh. So the next biggest question that comes off from this Tasawwuf is, okay, is this bid'ah? So we at least gave you our answer to that. Second question, why do I need to give bay'ah? What is bay'ah? Alright? So now understand this. Before I do this for you, how about we just start with this? Shaykh and need for teacher, that I've already explained in the first session. Sohbatu Sadiqeen, that person is called your Shaykh. Asking someone, informing someone, making someone your Khalil, being confident in them, confiding in them, having that relationship of love, al-mutahabbuna fillah. If you weren't here in the morning session, all of these things have been shown through the Qur'an al-Kareem and Sahih Hadith. So this much is clearly mentioned. That's been clearly established. Now the question is the process of taking a shaykh. Why is that called bay'ah? Alright. Now what happens here is this is a commitment. You're going to go, for example, if you go to someone and say, I want to become a hafiz. You go to a hafiz and ask that you want to become a student. Now that's a commitment. And it's a two-way commitment. He has to make a certain commitment to you because he'll have to put a lot of effort and time to teach you and then listen to your memorization of Qur'an. You as a student have to put commitment to him that you are actually going to not just sit there in class, but out of class you're going to keep revising, keep memorizing. So for this venture to work, for this teacher-student relationship to work, there must be mutual commitment and there must be an understanding that both are committed to this project of tahfizul Qur'an. Just like that, and that takes 2 to 3 years for children and can take more for part-time and more for adults. Just like that, tazkiyah is also a huge commitment. And a person says, okay, I want what? I want to do tazkiyah that I explained to you in the morning. I want to try to purify myself of outward and inward sin. I want to get yaqeen in my heart and iman. I want to get the feelings of zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inside my ibadah. I want to get more virtuous feelings, more haya, more sabr, more shukr, more akhlaq. I want to get the qurb and marifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want you to train me in these methods of dua, methods of zikr, methods of nafil ibadah. I want to be able to report to you when I do zikr, how I'm doing it. I want you to keep guiding me on that path of zikr. So that requires a commitment from both sides. That requires a commitment from both sides. So how would you express the commitment with the hifz instructor, tahfiz instructor? So in Urdu you would say, कि कारी साहब मैं आपका बाकायदा शागिर्द बनना चाहता. It means in English that, oh, Audi, I would like to formally become your student. Up to now, sometimes I sit with you and recite 1 or 2 surahs so you can correct my recitation, but now I've made a decision. And I wanted to express this to you. So I'm expressing my decision and intention that I want to now formally become your student, and I would like you to formally be my teacher and take me as your formal student. So the Urdu equivalent of that is मैं आपका बाकायदा शागिर्द बनना चाहता हूँ. बाकायदा. Right? That's something. Right? You may have an Alim, Mufti who you go to sometimes to ask, consult on some legal matter. And you may decide this one day to tell him that, well, actually now, it's not just that I want to every now and then ask you, I want to learn all of tafsir from you. And that's a big commitment. In order for this to work, that requires a major commitment from both sides. Alright? So in tasawwuf, this commitment is expressed using the word bay'ah. Why? Because the word bay'ah is in the Qur'an and guess. Sahih Bukhari. Yeah. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. Yes. Now, when I'm going to show it to you, then people say the question, but did the Sahaba use this word? No, Sahaba didn't use this word. Why? Because in the time of the Khulafa Rashidun, a new type of bay'ah emerged, which was not there in the time of Sayyidina Rasulullah, strictly speaking. This is called Bay'atul Khilafah. To pledge your allegiance and commit yourself to a person that he is now Khalifatul Rasul. One is to take Iman on the Prophet that he is Nabi, right? One is to give a bay'at of Khilafah, to take a pledge and commit yourself that you accept this person as Khalifatul Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now that bay'ah, when the person was Khalifatul Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was the Shaykh of the whole Ummah. When the Sahaba gave bay'ah to Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, it was bay'ah as a Khalifa. Doesn't just mean political leader. He was their Shaykh also. He was everything. He was the final Qazi, the final Mufti, the final Shaykh, the final Alim, the final General, the final leader. This is that concept. One is a concept of leadership. One is a concept of that leader that is called the Khalifa in Deen. So he was the Shaykh. There's no concept of any of the Sahabi taking any type of bay'ah. Same thing continued for the Khulafa Rashidun. Now you have to bring in historical approach. Now I won't be able to do it to you. I will just gently refer to something which is an extremely sensitive, intricate thing that took place in history. Was at the time of Sayyidina Ali radhiyallahu anhu, and afterwards there were some real complications that took place, let's say, in the rest of the history of the lives of the Sahaba. Alright? Muawiyah, Yazid, Karbala, you understand? Serious complications that took place for the rest, and some of the serious complications had already started, but even more serious complications. So after that, no Sahabi actually took bay'ah, because there was at least a sense for many that now Muawiyah, Sayyidina Muawiyah is now the Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's the Khalifa. But strictly speaking, Khulafa Rashidun, that concept ends with the first four Sahaba, but there were other than Sayyidina Muawiyah, and then this process of Khilafat then continues in Tabi'in, Tabai Tabi'in. But what happened was that after Sahaba, that concept of Khilafah is no longer the religious spiritual leader. It became basically the political leader. It's a different concept now. So the Khalifa, whether the Umayyads, the Abbasids, right? They weren't the Shaykh of the Ummah. They weren't the Alim of the Ummah. They weren't the Mufti of the Ummah. They weren't the Qazi of the Ummah. They were the political ruler of the Ummah. It became a different concept. So and people would take bay'ah to them as the Khalifa of the Ummah, but that bay'ah was no longer that complete bay'ah. So therefore, the bay'ah I'm about to show you in the Qur'an and Sahih Bukhari was revived in the time of the Tabi'in and Tabai Tabi'in, which means to formally commit yourself and take somebody as your teacher in tazkiyah, teacher in purification of the heart. Now, initially, at the time of Tabi'in, Tabai Tabi'in, the word bay'ah was not used for this. Just like I told you, the word tartil was used, the word tajweed was used, sometimes no word was used. I explained it to you in the morning session. So we're not interested in labels and words. We're interested in the reality. I read, and I have that book here, I once read an Arabic book, a small book, very small booklet, small monograph on the life of Sayyidina Salman al-Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And it very clearly mentions there, not the word bay'ah, but that there was a circle of tabi'in who were his dedicated students in tazkiyah, that he would teach them how to feel Allah Ta'ala in their prayer, and these type of things. Alright? So you have this attachment of tabi'in with Sahaba Ikram. Alright? That is the reality of all of these things I told. That is the reality. Means that Sahabi was the Shaykh of tazkiyah for that tabi. And you have the same thing, tabi'i teachers and tabai tabi'in students, and it's not hadith and it's not tafsir that's being taught, it's these topics which are the topics of tazkiyah. So the reality is present. The word bay'ah for this same reality, I'm going to show you that, is used in Qur'an and Sahih Bukhari. Then there was a time when this word wasn't used, but the reality continued, and there was a time the word was brought back. So in the last question will be, well then why did the Mashaykh of Tasawwuf bring this word back? The reason they brought the word back is because the word is in the Qur'an and Hadith. Yeah. So if I want to remember, I told you following the Qur'an and Sunnah model of tazkiyah. So the Qur'an and Sunnah model is that this is the word that is used for the beginning of the commitment to purify yourself and your heart by learning the teachings of Deen with a guide who will help instruct you in your taqwa, sunnah, haya, zikr, akhlaq, etc. So now let's take a look at this from Qur'an al-Karim. First, slide number 42. This is Surah Mumtahina. The parentheses are a little bit off. Surah Mumtahina, verse 12. Alright. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها النبي إذا جاءك المؤمنات. Alright. Now let me pause here and tell you that now let's build the workshop. Where do you find the word bay'ah in the Qur'an and Hadith? So there are 4 types of bay'ah. I'm only going to be showing you one because that's the type I'm talking about today. 4 types of bay'ah. 4 ways and you will find in the Qur'an and Hadith the word bay'ah has been used. The first is sometimes when people who didn't have iman yet, they came to the Prophet ﷺ to accept iman. So rather than shahada, the Prophet used the word bay'ah. That I take your bay'ah on la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alright? So the first usage of bay'ah is, one usage of bay'ah is that, so we'll call that bay'atul iman. We'll just give it a label for conceptual understanding, bay'atul iman. Second usage of this word bay'ah, that comes, these are all in Sahih Bukhari Muslim as well, is the Prophet sometimes took a bay'ah from the Mujahideen Sahaba. That I bay'at alal maut are the words that are used. That in other words, I take a commitment from you that you will fight injustice even if death overcomes you. Now strictly speaking, it's shahada, we don't call it maut, but it is a maut. It's a kind of maut which is called shahada. Right? So sometimes it is called, labeled this, bay'at alal maut, or sometimes it's called bay'atul jihad. Alright? Third was bay'atul hijrah. Again, not every sahabi, this was not taken from everybody who entered iman, it's not taken from everybody who was on jihad. Third one was not taken from everyone who migrated, but for some of the companions, the Prophet used this word and said, I take your pledge and commitment that you migrate and you leave behind your homes and you will not go back to Makkah Mukarramah until you are allowed to. So this was called Bay'atul Hijrah, Bay'atul Iman, Bay'atul Jihad, and Bay'atul Hijrah. The 4th type of bay'ah is the one I'm going to show you, also in Quran and Sunnah. That has been labeled Bay'atul Tawbah, or Bay'atul Irada. And it's this bay'ah, this type of bay'ah, that was understood as the reality of taking a teacher on this as a guide on the path of tazkiyah, of spiritual reformation and spiritual purification. Alright? So now we're going to look for the content matter. Right? I'm going to show you the word and I'm going to show you the content from Quran and Hadith. And in fact, it's a method also. Bay'ah is the method and the content will be there. Alright. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله يا أيها النبي إذا جاءك المؤمنات. That, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the believing women came to you. So from the word mu'minat, number 1, we know this can't be bay'atul iman. They already have iman. Second, it's not going to be a bay'ah about jihad because women don't give that bay'ah. Alright. But Allah Ta'ala is going to tell us clearly what it is. Yubayyitnaka. They came to give bay'ah to you, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on what? Allah an la yushrikna billahi shay'a wa la yusrikna wa la yuznina. That they will not associate any partners with Allah Ta'ala. They will not steal. They will not do zina. Wa la yaqtulna awladahunna. They will not kill their newly born children, infanticide. وَلَا يَأْتِينَ بِبُهْتَانٍ يَفْتَرِينَهُ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِنَّ وَأَرْجُلِهِنَّ. And they will not openly commit a slander. Literally, it's between their arms and legs. It means they will not openly produce and commit a slander of their own accord and will. Alright? It's an expression. The translator translated literally, but it's an expression. Alright? Okay. وَلَا يَأْسِينَكَ فِي مَعْرُوفٍ. So after mentioning some specific sins, وَلَا يَعْصِينَكَ, so those in Urdu, masiyat, they will not disobey you, means they will not sinfully disobey you, fi ma'ruf, in any known matter, means in any area of Sharia. So what is the bay'ah? Basically that we will never commit sin. Now they're already mu'minat, they're sahabiyat. So what does it mean? So that's why some they call it a bay'atul irada, that obviously they've accepted this, but they want to express their firm commitment now that we are never going to do these things, we are never going to sin. So they came with this. Allah Ta'ala, they themselves came with this idea. So Allah Ta'ala guides the Prophet ﷺ that they came and they want to express this formal commitment to you. So what should you do? فَبَايَعْهُنَّ, O Prophet ﷺ, you should take their bay'ah. You take it. And Allah Ta'ala uses the same word. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُنَّ اللَّهِ, and you should seek Allah Ta'ala's forgiveness for them. You should pray to Allah Ta'ala that He may forgive them. So what will happen if you do these two things? They give their bay'ah, you take their bay'ah, you make dua for their forgiveness. What will happen? Three things. Inna Allaha ghafurur rahim. Indeed, Allah Ta'ala is all forgiving, all merciful. This is a principle of the Mufassirun, that whenever Allah Ta'ala ends some passage by saying this, it means whatever came before is the sabab-i maghfirah, sabab-i rahmah. It's a Quranic guarantee that if you do this, you will get the forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? So this bay'ah. So what is tazkiyah? Tazkiyah is the same thing. That from now on I don't want to commit any sin. And I want to change myself. And I don't want to do major sins. I don't want to do anything. La yasinaka fi ma'ruf. So I want to make a commitment about this. Alright? Okay. Sahih Bukhari, this is one example. Sayyidina Jarir ibn Abdullah says that I took bay'ah bay'atu Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I took bay'ah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on what? That I would pray salah, I would offer my zakah, and I would give good advice to every Muslim. So he took a bay'ah on that. Right? So this is now taking a bay'ah on what? On good amal and good akhlaq. A'mal and akhlaq. On a'mal and akhlaq. What did you have here? Was a bay'ah on tawbah and an irada of the future to stay away from sin. In Sahih Bukhari you had a bay'ah on what? On good a'mal and good akhlaq. There's another hadith in Sahih Bukhari which they did not put here. That is narrated by Sayyidina Ubadah ibn Samit. And its reference in this Kitab al-Iman of Sahih Bukhari. And he narrates that there were a group of us Sahaba. We were sitting with Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hawlahu. We were sitting around him. And he turned to us and he said, that shall I not take your bay'ah? And we said, surely, but on what, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And then the Prophet ﷺ recited almost the exact same words at this verse in Surah Mumtahina, that I want to take your bay'ah, that you won't do shirk and you won't steal, you won't do zina, etc., etc., etc. And Sayyidina Ubadah ibn Samit says that yes, we all gave bay'ah to the Prophet ﷺ. So this is coming in several texts of hadith and in one place in Qur'an. Now, like I told you, in the time of Khulafa Rashidun, bay'ah meant specifically now, bay'ah to that Sahabi as Amir al-Mu'mineen. Later, when people would come and say, look, this is what I want to become a good person, I want to change my life, I want to pray regularly, I want to make tawbah, I want to leave sin. So the Mashayikh felt, okay, this is a commitment that's being made. You want the training, I have to commit myself to train you. So they took the same word from the Qur'an and Sunnah to express this. Next round. Some people say that this was khas. This was exclusive to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Exclusive to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like I told you, the reality of this is between all the tabi'in and some sahabi. The reality of this is between all the tabi'in and some tabi. And by the time of tabi'in or the next generation, they started using this name again. Second answer to this is that the ulama, muhaddisin and fuqaha both have listed those things which are khas, means particular to the Prophet ﷺ, such as he could marry more than 4 wives, such as his sleep did not break his wudu. There are several things like that. No muhaddith, no faqih has listed this as the things that were uniquely exclusive to the Prophet ﷺ, yani taking bay'ah was only to him. Third is that no mufassir has written that underneath the tafsir of this ayah, nor on the commentary of the Hadith of Bukhari. In fact, you will find Mufassirin Muhaddithin who actually write this, that this is the bay'ah that the Mashayikh of Tazkiyah take. They actually, few of them even write it when they're in the medieval period. Alright? So first, again, that person is giving an argument on their aql. So when somebody says, no, this bay'ah was khas for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you should ask them their question, where's the dalil? Your mind is telling me that, where's the proof of that? What's the proof that this was khas to Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And like I showed you in all of the other elements of the Quran and Sunnah model of Tazkiyah, whether it was suhbah, it was su'al, it was keeping company, asking, informing, following, associating, loving, just like that. This is also Quran and Sunnah, and this will also be part of the Quran and Sunnah model of Tazkiyah. So when the ulama of Tazkiyah continue the prophetic mission, al-ulama wa warathul anbiya, the prophetic mission was also what yuzakihim, they will follow the whole thing, so they will also use the concept of bay'ah, because it's present in the Quran and Hadith. Okay, again, like I told you, bid'ah is misused, same problem happened with bay'ah. So what happened is some people, they hijack this term that is only meant to be initiating a student-teacher relationship in Tazkiyah. You can call in layman's terms enrollment and registration. That's it, that's all bay'ah. I would like to enroll and register as your student in taqwa and zikr and haya and sunnah. Okay, that's called bay'ah. Some people, they hijack this term, and bay'ah meant what? That you will worship my grave after I die, and you will put a chadar on my grave so many times a year, and you will cook biryani and have it distributed at my grave after I die, and so many things, right? You will give 10% or 20% of your wealth to me, your children or mine, and I don't know what, right? What type of things happen? What people in Urdu, they call it piri muridi. But actually, piri muridi, hum bhi peer hai. Yeah, piri muridi just means sheikh and student, that's all it means, right? But people started this other. So this is something that has always hurt the deen of Islam, that people who were misguided or misguiding, they tried to hide that misguidance using the true language of Islam. Like I told you yesterday, ijtihad, that let's make an ijtihad on this and that. They hijacked the term. They hijacked the term of bay'ah. They hijacked the term tasawwuf. And they did all types of fraud, deceptive, khilaf sharia things. Alright? So take bay'ah to a sheikh does not mean that the sheikh will tell you what color car to purchase, that the sheikh is going to tell you what to do in your life, right? The sheikh is going to teach you tazkiyah. That's it. He's your teacher in tazkiyah. Yes, sometimes part of your tazkiyah, certain of your life decisions and lifestyle choices can affect your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even when you talk to your sheikh about that, that's not part of the instructions. Like I said, that you should follow the instructions. That's something else. It's called mushawara, shura, or you call it mashwara in Urdu. So it's up to you. You're not bound to follow it. So I often give people this example, that once there was a student of ours in America who got into medical school. And they got into two different medical schools. Medical school A was higher rated academically than medical school B. However, medical school A was in a very sort of small town area of middle America where there were very few Muslims. And medical school B, even though slightly less academically, was in a big city with a very strong Muslim community. So good masjid, good imam, good halal food, right? Things that a university student needs. So they asked me this question. The Sheikh, I got into these two, I wanted to ask you, which one should I go? Now when they ask the question, it doesn't mean that I am like commander-in-chief of their life. But they're asking me a question. This is also from Sahih, I didn't show it to you. This is also in Quran and Sahih Hadith, the concept of shura and mushawara. This is also there. So they say, aap apne Sheikh se kyun puchte hain? Why do you ask the Sheikh? So Allah Ta'ala in Quran told me I should do shura with people. The Prophet told me in Sahih Hadith I should do mushawara with people. So this is the person who already I'm doing mushawara with on how to increase my taqwa, sunnah, haya, zikr. So I thought I would do mushawara with him on this issue because this decision may affect my progress in increasing my taqwa, sunnah, haya, and zikr. This is also from Quran and Sahih Hadith. But when they ask me, if I tell them something, it's not fard for them to do it. Second, if they don't do it, it means they're doomed, right? I'm going to explain this in a moment, right? So I will also look at the person. If it was a person who is extremely strong in their taqwa, amal, haya, and I could see they're also very capable and they have a chance of maybe making some breakthrough researches in medicine and therefore should go to the better one, I'd send them to medical school A. But this fine person happened to be not so strong in their deen, and therefore I felt they really need to go to medical school B in order to be in that community with this strong Muslim community. And they weren't exceptionally bright. They were basically becoming a doctor. The reason with all due respect, 90% of people become doctors because it's a lucrative and respectful profession. They weren't actually going to be entering the cutting edge of medical research. So there's no further reason that they're becoming a doctor. Medical school B is perfectly fine for them. So it was my mashwara, but yes, I told them because they asked me. Right? I told them. And they went to medical school B. Alright, let's say they didn't listen to me and went to medical school A. No problem. Doesn't mean that they're doomed. Okay, let's say they don't listen to me and they go to medical school A and they live in that small town and their iman goes down and they break their haya and they have an unlawful relationship with a small town American girl. I'm not going to tell them, I told you so. It's not like that. It's not because you didn't listen to Shaykh this happened to you. No. It's because you didn't listen to Allah Ta'ala, lower your gaze from that girl this happened to you. It's not because you didn't listen to Shaykh. So there's also, don't misunderstand this. That because I didn't listen to the Shaykh, that's why this happened. No. You think that's extreme, you're letting yourself off the hook. No sin happens. Sin, you choose to do the sin yourself. Don't blame me. Because I didn't listen to Shaykh, therefore I sinned. Don't give yourself off the hook. Because you didn't listen to Allah Ta'ala, you sin. Alright? So these are misconceptions that people have. Right? But yes, at the flip side, you can keep doing rounds. At the other side, yes, it's possible the person could call me and say, Shaykh, if they didn't listen to me, they went to medical school A. They say, Shaykh, I'm feeling really lonely around here. There's no really Muslims. I can't even find a place to pray Jummah. There's no halal meat. I think I made a mistake. I'm feeling a lot of lack of barakah in my life. So they're correct, but the lack of barakah isn't Allah Ta'ala punishing them for not listening to me. No, the lack of barakah is because there's no Muslims in that community. You're not praying Jummah. You can't have halal food. That's why there's lack of barakah. Do you understand? So don't think that bebarkat hai kyunki Shaykh ki baat nahi mani. No. बेबरकत है क्योंकि शेख ने जो वजूहात शनाख्त की जिसकी वजह से आपको उसके खिलाफ मशवरा दिया आपने वो कहे वो वजूहात वाकई शेख करेक्ट थे वो वजूहात आ गए उस वजूहात की बिना पर बेबरकती हो रही है. In English it means that the factors that the sheikh had identified which would be hampering your deen, he turned out to be correct. And those factors are there, and therefore they are hampering your deen. So what's hampering your deen is not that you didn't listen to the sheikh. No, it's these factors. That there's no community there, and do you understand now? Is this clear? This makes it clear? Alright? Okay. Now, however, again I take another round. If somebody has this experience, right? So human beings learn from their experience. So let's say that person didn't listen to me and went to medical school A. Next time they call me up, experience will teach them that I should listen to the sheikh. Even if they say the word should, it's not far as they're saying, I voluntarily feel I should listen because truly that's why I asked them, because they can offer me a perspective that I don't have. Last time I didn't listen, their perspective turned out to be right, and I had a difficult time in that community. This time I will listen. So for example, they graduate med school, they get a residency, same thing. They get a residency in a slightly better hospital, but it's Hickville, right? And then get a residency in a slightly less better hospital, but it's a strong Muslim community. I tell them the same thing. They say, Sheikh, I know what you're going to tell me, and I accept it. And I made a mistake the first time, I'm not going to make a mistake the second time. But mistake isn't obeying or disobeying me. Mistake was making a life decision, not placing deen at the foremost criteria of that decision, but rather discounting the fact that there wasn't a strong Muslim community, there wasn't masjid, there wasn't imam, you wouldn't pray Jummah, and only looking at the academic rank of the school. That was the mistake. This concept should be clear. So these are real things. Tasawwuf and bay'ah and zikr and tariqah, this is nothing outside the Qur'an, Sunnah and Sharia. But there are many people who hijack these words and do things and believe things that are outside the Quran, Sunnah, and Sharia. So that means that a person must find a Shaykh who is according to the Sharia and Sunnah. And that's true for every branch of learning in Islam. Even the Qari who teaches your children should be a person who's upright, who's muttaqi, who's salih. The Qariya who teaches your daughter should be upright, muttaqi, salihah. This is the criteria for all types of teachers. Any teacher who is teaching any branch of deen. Alright? Okay. Getting back to this term of label. How did this label start? When did this happen that people started labeling someone as a Qadiri, as a Naqshbandi? So this also was a historical phenomenon. You have to understand this historically. And many times these things actually didn't happen self-consciously. So I'll give you an example. So we use our three fine friends here. Pick on the front row. What's your name? Hassan. Subhanallah. Hassan, Hassan, Hussein? Hamza. Okay, Hassan, Hassan, and Hamza. So Hassan lives in Damascus. Hassan is from Baghdad. Hassan comes on a trade caravan from Baghdad to Damascus. So, traveling down from Baghdad to Damascus, that takes a lot of time. And Hassan is a trader. Import, export, it's been going on for centuries. So what does Hassan do? He tries to bring all the interesting things in Baghdad and bring it to Damascus, sell to the people of Damascus, and buy some interesting things from Damascus and take it back to Baghdad. So what Hassan is going to do is going to end up staying in Damascus for about a month or two. This is how caravans used to be. So while Hassan is there, he's trying to meet some interesting traders in Damascus who may take his Baghdad goods and point him out to the good Damascus goods. And lo and behold, he meets Hassan. So Hassan feels, oh, Hassan, mashallah, he brought goods that have really helped me, and I can sell these in Damascus, and I have some interesting things of him. And because Hassan is living, and in our deen there's a lot of ikram for the traveler and the guest, so Hassan and Hassan, they get along. So Hassan says, Hassan, why don't you have dinner with me every night? Why are you going to sit in those caravans? Alright, so now they become friends. Now Hassan off duty, because now Hassan is not the trader, this is after hours. So when Hassan sits with Hassan, a whole new side of Hassan opens up. What is that? Hassan is a big lover of Allah Ta'ala. So he sits down with Hassan and he just starts talking about how much he loves Allah Ta'ala, love for the Prophet ﷺ, the greatness of Qur'an, the wonders of Sunnah. He has such good akhlaq. So Hassan is, whoa, I've never met a trader like this. So Hassan starts learning from him. And every night they have these sessions, sometimes on Qur'an, sometimes on Hadith, sometimes on Sabr, sometimes on Zikr, sometimes on love for Allah Ta'ala. And they spend a wonderful month together in this learning relationship. Now what happens is that sometimes when Hassan was sharing things with Hassan, he would say Allah Ta'ala said in Quran that you should love him, and the Prophet said in Hadith that you should have the best character, and my Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani was in Baghdad, and my Shaykh, he explained it this way, and he taught us to do zikr this way, and my Shaykh, he taught us to make dua of Asmal Husn like this, and Hassan starts doing it, and Hassan starts changing. He also starts changing. Now the 1 month ends and it's time for Hassan to go back. What's your name? Yes. Fahd. Okay. Hamza and Fahd, switch seats for a minute. Fahd, I'm going to use you in this example also. Alright. So now it's time for Hassan to go back to Baghdad. So Hassan says, I'm really going to miss you. It's been one of the best months of my life. And Hassan says, well, why don't you come back with me? Hassan says, really? And he says, yeah, you helped me so much in identifying the good Damascus. Let's do that trip together. 50-50. Let's do that trip together. And you can come and I'll take you to Shaykh. And then we'll do the market work and you can sit with Shaykh at night. If you liked me, wait till you meet Shaykh. So Hassan says, whoa, that's a great idea. So Hassan joins Hassan and they go in the caravan. Hassan says, okay, let me make sure my mom is fine, wife is fine, I've earned enough, I've taken care of them. I told the family, I'm going for a month, I'm going to Baghdad. I'm going to Baghdad to meet Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. So now Hassan and Hassan go back from Damascus to Baghdad. During the day, now Hassan shows Hassan around the markets of Baghdad. And at night, majlis lagti hai. Magar Hassan ke ghar nahi, Hassan ke Shaykh ki masjid mein. The Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani is sitting in masjid. These things were taking place in masajid. So now Hassan goes, he hears these teachings of love for Allah Ta'ala from the Shaykh of Hassan. Teachings of zikr, akhlaq, haya, taqwa, sunnah. And he spends some time there. Allahu Akbar. Now because Hassan had done some effort on him already, Hassan is mashallah quick learner, making fast progress. So now even the business is done, but Hassan decides to stay back. He even moves in the masjid. This is called khanka. Khanka, zawiya in Arabic, khanka in Persian, teki in Turkish. So khanka, zawiya was that masjid where people would live and spend that dedicated full time, like Ashab al-Sufa, like I told in the morning session. This continued. This is a sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he established with the Sahaba Ikram. So Hassan moves in and he lives the life like the Ashab al-Sufa used to live. And he spends maybe a few weeks like that, maybe 6 weeks like that, 3 weeks like that. And one day Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani calls Hassan. It says, Hassan, it's time for you to go back. Why? Because whatever you needed to learn, you've learned it from me. And I want you to go back to Damascus and I want you to go back and teach it. I want you to go back and teach it. Okay, Hassan goes back. Hassan goes back, now he's a totally changed person. Now he goes back, now mashallah, he prays tahajjud, he has so much zikr, so much love for Allah Ta'ala, so much haya, so much good akhlaq. So he runs into his old friend Hamza. And Hamza looks at Hassan, is it totally changed? So in today's language, Hamza goes to Hassan, dude, what happened to you? Allahu Akbar? Huh? Hamza goes to Hassan, what happened to you? So Hassan starts telling him that, this person came from Baghdad, I spent time with him, he told me these wonderful teachings, I finally feel the feelings of Allah Ta'ala in my heart, I got the feelings of Qur'an, I got the feelings of Sunnah, then I went with him back to Baghdad, I spent time with the Shaykh, my whole life has changed. Hamza says, Hassan, I wish I could have made that journey with you. But Hassan, my mom, she's old, and I can't leave her, and I have to stay in her khidmah. Do you think you could teach me what you learned from Baghdad? Hassan says, yes, this is what my Shaykh wanted me to do. So now Hassan and Hamza start meeting. Hamza brings a couple of his friends along. And before you know it, Hassan is teaching this group of young men of Damascus how to love Allah Ta'ala, how to lower their gaze, how to have good akhlaq, how to make zikr. And when he's teaching them, because he's not going to attribute it to himself, out of humility he says, because he honestly says that my Shaykh said this. If he says something that he heard from his Shaykh, because this was our deen is the deen of sanad. We always quote our teachers. So he says, Shaykh Abdul Qadir said that, Shaykh Abdul Qadir. So Hamza, although he never goes to Baghdad, but he gets to know the teachings of the Shaykh, he gets a glimpse into the taqwa of the Shaykh through the company of Hassan. So then Hamza also starts to change. Then one day Hamza runs into his cousin Fahd, who's visiting from Cairo. And Fahd says, dude, what happened to you? So Hamza says that, I met this person. And Fahd says, I understand, you're Qadri. You're one of those Qadris. Means, you're one of those people who, mashallah, have been connected and are going fast on Sirat al-Mustaqim, and you did your tazkiyah thanks to the company and gatherings and teachings of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. So he just, I got it. It's okay, I've understood. I know it is. You're Qadri. Right? So it was just a word all of a sudden that was used as shorthand. Shorthand abbreviation to simply indicate, I've understood what happened to you. I've understood. You're Qadri. That's it. Alright? This is how these words began to be used. Alright? Again, this concept has also been misused by people. Qadri or Naqshbandi or Chishti, Surawardi, these are just methods and methodologies of spiritual purification. They are nothing else and nothing more. And if you make it the be-all and end-all of your life, so I'll tell you a very nice poem in Urdu and translate for you. Koi Naqshbandi hai, koi Qadri, koi Surawardi, koi Chishti. Koi Naqshbandi hai, koi Qadri, koi Surawardi, koi Chishti. Jiski dil mein Allah hai, wo sab kuch hai, varna kuch nahi. Yeah. So somebody calls himself a Qadri or Naqshbandi or Surawardi or Chishti or a Sufi. But that person in whose heart is the love and remembrance for Allah Ta'ala, he is everything. And if he doesn't have that, irrespective of what label he uses for himself, he's nothing. He is nothing. So what happened was, historically, Tasawwuf was a reality, which doesn't have so many names and labels. Now it's become a show with lots of names and labels, but few left to have that reality. So obviously then when people, their first glance falls on the labels. The first glance falls on the exterior, right? So then many people, they get a bit taken aback. They get a bit thrown off. You should search for the reality. Now what we're going to do is show you some classical texts from the tradition of Tasawwuf and Tazkiyah. Alright. First set of texts is by an author who, within our own ulama tradition of Bar Saghir, the subcontinent, is viewed to be the greatest wali ever in the history of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. The greatest wali of Hind. His name is Shaykh Ahmed Sirhindi, Imam al-Rabbani, Imam al-Mujaddid al-Fasani, Rahimahullah Ta'ala. And what we're going to go straight to the matter, what does he think Tasawwuf is? So let the tradition define itself, as opposed to letting others define and depict that tradition for you. Alright? Okay. By the way, since I said that, once I did make a presentation where I actually showed like this quotes from Salafi texts to show you that this is really what they say. But the feeling after I did that presentation was that it was too confrontational. It just felt, and the feeling that the audience got was it's just too much of a debate. So I would put up the Salafi and I would prove it, right? That this is what they say. Then I would show what the classical muhaddithin fuqaha say. Then again I would show what they say. And it became too much, and actually the impression that people were left with that I was quote unquote Salafi bashing. So then I said, okay, I better then change this method, right? But then I felt that most people have been exposed in this circle so much to certain things. But the truth is, before I move on to this, I want to say that my approach always when I meet people who follow the Salafi methodology has been very simple. I always tell them that you should just make yourself a fifth madhab. I say there's room enough on the table for you also. You pull up a chair. Before there were 4 chairs, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi and Hanbali. You pull up a 4th chair and we can call you, for example, the Taymi madhab, because basically the level of deference you have to Ibn Taymiyyah Rahimahullah positions, and you view him basically you prefer and select his understanding over others, is very similar to what others are doing. They're preferring and selecting their understanding of others. And in fact, in 2008, I made a very big effort to reach out to some such circles. I will not name them here in Karachi. And this effort fell flat on its face. And then I learned then that actually, generally, a Salafi can't do that because the Salafi methodology teaches them there can only be one correct position. So how can they be willing to be the 5th chair at a table of 5 settings when their very methodology says there's only going to be one position? Only one is correct, and that is the one that will be according to Sunnah, and the other must have some weakness in their position and will be declared incorrect. There's only one way of praying according to the Sunnah. So they couldn't accept this offer. Not that it was mine to offer. Obviously there's a whole world of global scholarly community. But what I was suggesting to them is that we should stop these arguments. Because there are certain women foundations in Pakistan who were overstressing this issue of prayer. And I started getting calls. I got a call once from a grandmother, because she thought it was me who was doing this. That why did you teach my poti that she's telling me the way I pray is wrong? वो मुझ पर चढ़ गए कि मैं हनफी हूँ और नबी करीम के खिलाफ तरीके पर नमाज पढ़ रहे हैं. आपने क्या सिखाया मेरे पोते को? I said, आंटी जी मैंने नहीं सिखाया. ये मैं नहीं हूँ. आपको हलफ किसी ने नंबर दिया? वो मैं वो वाला नहीं हूँ. But then I realized this was causing problems in families. And like I told you, if you were here 3-4 days ago, never in the history of this ummah was there any systematic, institutionalized, funded effort to dispatch scholars all over the world and tell those people in other parts of the world that the way they pray is wrong and against the Sunnah. So there was a certain surge of this. So then I felt, okay, I should try to reach out and say, look, okay, you pray however you want, but don't negate the other way of praying. But they wouldn't accept this. And then I realized that their ideology necessitates negation of the other. Now when I realized that their ideology necessitates negation of the other, then there's really no room left for me to engage them anymore. Alright? Okay. On Tasawwuf. Now, showing you what the Mashayikh say about Tasawwuf. Alright. So, what does Imam al-Rabbani say? That humanity has been created to serve Allah. What he is saying here in the original Ubudiyya. Original is Farsi, Abdiyat, right? Abdiyat. if love is kindled inside a person, whether in the beginning or during the course of their spiritual journey. So here you find a word here, suluk. Suluk means that a person begins this journey by making tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First they ask Allah to forgive them for all the sins that they committed in the past. Then they make irada, intention that they don't want to sin in the future. Then third, they say, now I'm going to work on tazkiyah. I'm going to try to get the knowledge and do the practice that will purify my heart so that I don't fall back into sin. Alright? So this is a path. This is a process. So the Arabic word for path is suluk. So this is a path and process. So when they get the love for Allah, when love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ignited in that person's heart, whether at the beginning or during the path, the purpose is to take him away from things other than Allah. Inqita'an ghayr Allah. To cut him off from the dunya, from love for dunya, from love for creation. Love is never an end in of itself. It is only a means to realize ubudiyyah. What he meant was that the ultimate identity of a human being is abd, is slave. Love is the characteristic of the slave, as opposed to slavehood is the characteristic of the lover. It's a fine thing. For example, Imam al-Ghazali says something very similar. He wrote a book about love for Allah, Kitab al-Mahabba, part of his Ihya al-Muddin. And he mentions levels of love. And he says the highest level of love is ubudiyyah. The greatest love is the love that the slave has for the master. And the greatest slave-master relationship is this human slave and Allah is their master. Alright? So love is a means to get maqam abdiyat, to actually become the true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very important. Why? Imam Rabbani Shaykh Ahmed was also very instrumental in clarifying and refuting many of the bid'at that had crept into Indian practice of Islam prior to his time. So one problem was this, that people felt that now that I've become the lover of Allah Ta'ala, they thought it was the other way. They thought slavehood and worship, obedience and prayer was in order to become the lover. And once I become the lover, like I said, I'm pahunch gaye, I don't have to now do this worship anymore. So he said, no, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. All the love for Allah Ta'ala in your heart is to empower you to obey Him. So the test of do you truly love Allah Ta'ala is how much you truly obey Him and how much you truly worship Him. Alright? So you can't capture that depth of meaning in English because I told you before, English is a very poor language. Arabic is the richest language. English is one of the poorest languages. Persian and Urdu, or Persian is more rich. Urdu is after Persian, fairly rich. And English? Very poor. Right? Now imagine if I'm telling you that English translation about Kalam al-Insan, you have no idea until you learn Arabic how poor even the best English translation of Qur'an is. Because English as a language itself is so poor at expressing deep meaning. Alright? But you guys don't realize that because you're all English educated. For you, English is like God. Ingrezi Talim is harf-e akhir for you. Right? And you've been robbed of Urdu and robbed of Persian. And you've been robbed of Arabic. You've been robbed of higher languages. They are higher languages. So the higher the language, the higher the meaning, the higher the feeling. Alright? So what feeling is there in this? Praise be to Lord of the worlds. Isme kaun si dil hai? Where is this? How does this even compare to Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen? There's no comparison. One day you will understand this. Alright? It's not even close. Translation is correct. The translation is correct, but it's not even close. Alright? Okay. Khair Imam Rabbani Rahimahullah Ta'ala. So the last stage in the Sufi way, and I actually wouldn't call the Sufi way, wilaya. Wilaya. And I'm going to explain this to you, the concept of being a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Nabiyeen, Anbiya are the highest of humanity. Sahaba are the second highest humanity. Awliya are the third highest humanity. The awliyaullah, this is also something in Quran. These are slides that we didn't have time to show you, but this is also a word that comes in Quran. So the concept of wilaya. So it says the last stage in being a wali, which means becoming the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm just pulling out some verses in Quran to show you what a wali is. The last stage in becoming the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing else than being his abd. There is nothing beyond ubudiyyah. There is no concept of wilaya that transcends ibadah and ubudiyya. So all concept of wilaya, tariqat, tasawwuf, tazkiyah is just subservient, subordinate to sharia, is just to attain the goal of complete obedience to Allah Ta'ala. So he says beyond it there is no other stage. At this stage, now again, the word mystic is in the correct English, the salik. Salik is the one who's traveling, suluk. The salik means the traveler on the path of purification and seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At this stage, the salik finds no comparison between him and his Rabb. He is wanting in everything, whereas his Rabb is self-sufficient in essence as well in his attributes. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara ilallah. Here Imam Rabbani was correcting the false doctrine of wahdatul wujud. Some people like Ibn Arabi rahimahullah ta'ala, because when a person has passed away, we hope that Allah Ta'ala accepts them for whatever was good in them, and Allah Ta'ala overlooks and forgives any mistakes they may have genuinely made, but they're mistakes nonetheless. So one big mistake that preceded Imam Rabbani was this concept of wahdatul wujud. Wahdatul wujud means that the person travels on the path to become closer to Allah Ta'ala, and becomes so close that one of two things happen. One was the concept of ittisal, that they become at union with Allah Ta'ala. This is also called hulul, ittisal, ittihad. This is completely batil. You can never become one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is Allah and makhluk is makhluk. And Imam Rabbani elsewhere has a whole separate writing on this, which he calls absolute farq. And there will always be a division, separation, distinction between khaliq and makhluk, even in Jannah. Forget a wali in this world. Even the Ahlul Jannah, even the ones in Jannatul Firdaus will never become one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? This was another one of the incorrect concepts that Imam Rabbani cleared from certain, not just Indian also, because Ibn Arabi is not Indian, just Islamic understandings prior to him. Alright? He is wanting in everything, so this was the notion of being faqir, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ghani. Alright. He sees nothing common between his essence and Allah Ta'ala's essence. So in his wujud and Allah Ta'ala's wujud, forget wahdat, there's nothing even common. There's nothing even, he's taking the total other extreme position. There's nothing even common in Allah Ta'ala's wujud and in my wujud. And this is one of his greatest acts, that he completely obliterated this notion of wahdatul wujud. From the pristine Islamic tasawwuf, the true Sharia tasawwuf, the tasawwuf of the ulama and siddiqeen and sadiqeen. And not just that, he will see nothing in common between his attributes and Allah Ta'ala's attributes. Because some people try to say, no, wahdatul wujud is not about the wujud, it's tawhid sifati, it's wahdat sifati, it's that we become similar, identical, or one with Allah Ta'ala in his attributes, but not in his essence. He says nothing. There's no comparison in essence, and there's no comparison in attributes. Right? Now why is this important? Because there are some people who might tell you that, and there are, by the way, people who will tell you this in class, you went to Zainab Academy. Zainab Academy, that person's Sufi. And don't you know Sufis believe in wahdatul wujud? Immediately, guilt by association. I don't believe in wahdatul wujud. We don't teach wahdatul wujud. Right? Okay? This is clear? And the vast majority of the true tradition of tasawwuf, whether Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullah, Shaykh Ahmed Sirhindi rahmatullah, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jani rahmatullah, Shah Bahauddin Naqshband Bukhari rahmatullah, they never believe in these things about the wujud. There's one person, Ibn Arabi, and then some people knuckle from him. You can't even say anybody after him independently conceived of this. They were all just doing knuckle of him. Alright? Okay. He even avoids saying that the world is a shadow zil of God. This was the second position people had taken. So that's why the Imam says absolute farq. Not only is it wahdat, it's not wahdat in wujud. It's not wahdat in sifat. It's not even zil. It's not even a shadow. Nothing. La misla lahu. Nothing can compare to Allah Ta'ala. Nothing. So second, is very, in one lines, there's huge debates that he's addressing here. Right? He says, no, the true wali who reaches the end of wilayat becomes the abd of Allah Ta'ala. And when you reach the end, you won't have fancy notions of wahdat. You won't even have the notion of zil. You won't say that the world is a shadow of God, because even that implies some level of comparison analogy. All you reach in the end, he simply affirms that Allah Ta'ala is khaliq and he is makhluk, and beyond that he claims nothing. That's it. It's there for you word for word. So we in Ihsan Institute, Zainab Academy, we follow the tradition of Tasawwuf of Shaykh Professor Hindi Rahmatullah. This is what our teaching is. And this is a teaching that is Ayn-i-Qur'an, Ayn-i-Sunnah. This is the true deen. Alright? Then he said that some people are led in the course, not at the end, but while on this path of suluk, to the belief in one actor. They see no actor other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does that mean? Okay. So this was this notion that Allah ta'ala was what certain people before him had called Qasib-i Hakiki. One is Fa'il Hakiki, one is Qasib-i Hakiki. This is a bit difficult for you to understand. But anyway, that they felt that it's kind of like what I did for you in free will and predestination. I told you if it were a paradox, if Allah ta'ala also did the doing. So they were kind of, it's simplifying it to explain to you like that, but in a kind of sort of way, they had that belief that Allah ta'ala does the doing. So Imam Rabbani is negating this also. Allah ta'ala does the knowing, we do the doing. And therefore we are fully responsible for our own actions and our choices. So what he's saying is the Salikin of Naqshbandi Tariqah, they know that Allah ta'ala creates the acts, He doesn't do the acts. Now this is a very, very intricately complex area of Islamic theology, which is nowhere near any of your level, and it's not appropriate to even discuss it in front of you. We must show you what you can handle, right? But just understand this, that this is a very complicated theological issue, and he also stamps this out. There's no notion that Allah Ta'ala does actions, but yes, Allah Ta'ala creates the actions that people do, but that sentence is not, even that sentence you won't be able to understand right now. Alright, now look at this top thing. It is the product of intoxication and ecstasy. Means, so, okay, let me just add this. The truth is that there are many actors, to the same category of beliefs, let's start there. So I'm in the middle of page 174, page number 2 of the document. To the same category of beliefs belongs the doctrine of this Wahdat al-Wujud. It is the product of intoxication and ecstasy. Alright? What does it mean? That these are their, it's called in Arabic shatiyat. These are their ecstatic utterances. This isn't true, real, sober, well-considered aqidah. These are outbursts that people say. The truth, okay, the criteria for the correctness of any idea, of any Sufi, of any wali, of any salik, is that they agree with the clear truths of the Sharia. If they diverge a hair's breadth, they are, to be sure, simply to be dismissed as a product of their intoxication, of their ecstasy, of their hal. The truth is what has been established by the ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, means as far as what is Sharia, what is Aqidah, all the Sufis have to refer to the ulama. The ulama will define what is Aqidah and what is Sharia. You are not sitting to do zikr to come up with new Aqidah concepts such as Wahdat al-Wujud. You are sitting in zikr to feel love and closeness to Allah Ta'ala. That's it. Zikr is being done for tazkiyah and qurb. That's it. You will not learn anything new about Aqidah. You're not going to come up with any new rulings on Sharia. You will follow the ulama for that. You're doing zikr, you're doing dua, you're doing nafil ibadah to do your tazkiyah and to get qurb. Tazkiyah means the more you remember Allah Ta'ala, the less you will sin. The more you remember Allah Ta'ala, the more you will feel His greatness, the more you will become humble. The more you remember Allah Ta'ala, the more haya you will have, the more you will raise your gaze. Qurb means the more you remember Allah Ta'ala, the more close you will feel to Him. That's what the tasawwuf is for. So don't even try to do these things. You have to follow the ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. All else is blasphemy and heresy. Any concept of Aqidah, Sharia, fiqh coming from the zikr of a Sufi has no basis. Only thing, all of that must be taken from the ulama. So it's very clear. Because this was another problem, that in their deep practices of tasawwuf and zikr, they started spilling over and talking about things that is not their domain. They left their workshop and started commenting on other things. Right? Okay? Alright. Then he says that, what was the goal? Remember, the goal was ubudiyat. So he says, perfect agreement with the Sharia is possibly only at the stage of ubudiyat. So then the question is, why do you need tasawwuf? You need tasawwuf because the path of love. Why do you need the love? Because when you perfectly love Allah Ta'ala, you'll be His perfect slave. Why don't you be His perfect slave? Because until you're perfectly a slave, you won't follow everything in Sharia. You'll do gadbar. You'll mess up. You'll sometimes follow your nafs. You'll sometimes do a sin. So this is why you need this. This is the purpose of this path. This is the purpose of this path. Alright? Okay. Anything else or before ubudiyyah, you will end up in some element of intoxication. Means you will have some fanciful thoughts and fanciful ideas. So somebody asked a question to Shaykh Bahauddin Naqshband Bukhari rahimahullah. What is the purpose of suluk? What is the purpose to try to do this practice of zikr, be in the company of Shaykh, listen to those talks? What's the purpose of all this? So the purpose is to know in detail what you know in brief, and to perceive, we wouldn't say in vision, but really to perceive in experience and awareness what you only knew through hearsay and argument. So let me explain this to you. First, to purpose is to know in detail what you know in brief. What does it mean? So, this is a sentence I will give you from a Sayyidith. I already gave it to you on a slide. أَن تَعْبُدَ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَى. That you should worship Allah Ta'ala as if you see Him. Now, on the translation, you just have brief knowledge of this. Now, when you're trained and you try and you make effort and you make dua to Allah Ta'ala to actually pray in such a way, then you will know the real detailed meaning of this. Otherwise, you just knew it in brief. Right? You just knew it in brief. The second thing was that to perceive and experience what you only know through arguments. So this was that yaqeen in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, somebody says, I have iman that Allah Ta'ala exists, but I've never really felt Him in my life. I've never felt Him in my heart. I've never felt Him in my prayer. But I know there are people who are like that. Right? Yes, so when you practice this, means tawbah, staying away from sin, practices those things I told you, leave outward sin, leave inward sin, right? Have the good deeds, the good virtues, the things I showed you. So when you start doing that, you will start feeling. You'll feel it. Then you will experience it. You believed it on the basis of argument. You believed it, that people get qurb and sajda. Allah Ta'ala said in Qur'an, make sajda, get qurb. So you believed it. But you never experienced it. You never experienced that qurb and sajda. So that's what happens. So the purpose is to live and feel what you know and understand. Alright? Okay. Then, he says that what will happen? It is, however, a fact that the person will get different ideas during their journey. What does it mean? That, for example, when a person starts doing zikr, they might feel something like that. They might feel that, oh, I feel Allah Ta'ala is near me. I feel Allah Ta'ala is behind me. They will get approximations. So when you're reaching the truth, first you're far away. You can't perceive the truth at all. As you get closer, you will get approximations of that truth. You will get approximations. So along the way, it's not something incorrect, right? But it's not the perfect truth yet. But that's a nature of any learning process, right? Any field of Islam that you start studying it, you do round one of something, like some things I did this in round 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So in round 1, you were getting an approximation of the truth. It took few more rounds for you to get closer to the truth. So the same thing that happened on this path of zikr and tazkiyah. You will start getting an approximation of that. But you won't really get the full thing until you get it, until you reach the end. So what is haya? Somebody once asked me, what does it really mean to have haya? I know I'm supposed to lower my gaze, but what exactly is haya? So when you practice lowering the gaze more, you will start getting some idea of what haya is. And when you now perfectly do it, then you will really get capital H haya, then you will understand what haya is. So the experience, the knowledge by experience isn't an instant. Because the practice is a process, the experience is a process. Alright? Okay. Then, but when he reaches the end, those superfluous ideas disappear in the air. So when he actually realizes, then he will understand and experience the reality of the meanings of Sharia, then all these ideas he got will become irrelevant. They were just ideas he had along the way. Okay, next. He then perceives the same truths of the Sharia in detail, and comes out from the narrow enclosure of reason to the open space of kashf. So I want to explain to you what this thing kashf is. First he comes out to the narrow enclosure of reason. Right? So for example, if I say the word sabr to you, your mind can come up with some understanding. Patience, endurance, fortitude, perseverance. That's your aql trying to understand. And especially if a person has not had sabr, their aql has to understand. Let me take it another way. Let's say there's, mashallah, a nice, pious person who's never, ever felt hasad. They've never felt hasad in their heart. So I try to explain to them. So I use English words, envy, jealousy, right? So now they've never felt it with their heart, so they can't know what hasad is from their heart. Their aql will try to understand. Their mind will try to understand the concept of hasad. But if someday they feel hasad for someone, then they will know what it is because they felt the feeling in their heart. When they know, when they feel the feeling of hasad in their heart, then they will truly know what it is, and they won't need the aqli words, envy, jealousy. You understand? So this is the same thing in every aspect of deen. Whether it's the negative things, hasad, the positive things, sabr, shukr, inabat ilallah, qalbun munib. Okay, I can try to explain that to you in words. You'll understand it from your aql. If I explain to you in words. The day you feel inabat, you understand? Inaba, yearning for Allah Ta'ala in your heart, then you will know what qalbun munib is, because you have felt it. Alright? That is what is called kashf. Kashf doesn't mean I can see what's behind the wall. That's not what kashf meant. This is also complete misappropriation of this term. Kashf meant what was hidden to you becomes apparent to you. It was hidden to you. Haya was hidden to you. If anybody asks me that question, what does haya really mean? It's clear that what haya is hidden to this person. Hidden means, not that somebody hid it from, they can't perceive it. It's veiled. They cannot perceive what haya is. That's what they're asking me. If they ask me a question, well, okay, what does it mean to pray as if you see Allah? So clearly it's hidden from them. They can't perceive it. So kashf means it becomes opened up for you. That's what kashf meant. Kashf doesn't mean I know what you ate in the morning, and kashf means I know what's behind the wall. There's no value to that in Sharia. Who cares? What difference? How would that benefit me in my relationship to Allah Ta'ala if I could see behind the wall? How does it benefit my relationship with Allah if I could know what you ate in the morning? This is completely off the wall concepts. But again, people keep hijacking these Arabic terms for futile and foolish purposes. This is kashf. He's saying that when you purify your heart, practice tazkiyah, leave sin, make zikr of Allah Ta'ala, the real feelings and experiences of Islam, which were not perceived by you because you were just a person of translation or a person of meaning, and you had not yet become a person of feeling, when you do this, then they will be unveiled. As opened up, they will become apparent. Now you will understand because you experience it. Alright? Okay. The Anbiya, the prophets, now actually he's also responding to an issue here, which every now and then a modern person asks, but let me first tell you the sentence. The Prophet ﷺ, he received these truths through wahi. And if somebody was to ask the question, well, how did Rasulullah ﷺ know what haya is? How does he know what ihsan is? So he said, he received that through wahi. Allah Ta'ala informed him. Allah Ta'ala informed him. Right? What does the wali get? The wali gets ilham from the same source. The same source. Now I have to read this whole paragraph now to explain to you the concept of ilham. From the same source. Same source means Allah Ta'ala. Yes, Allah Ta'ala can inspire the heart of a person. I'm going to come back and explain this to you. And the ulama of Sharia, so the Anbiya get that yaqeen through wahi. The awliya get that yaqeen through ilham. And the fuqaha, they get it through their deduction from the workshop. They get it through their extracting the usul. They get it from their effort of usul. And then they deduce those principles and then articulate them in methodology. Let me finish the paragraph, then I'll go back and explain this thing to you. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received the truth through wahi in detail. The wali gets it in detail. Detail means the experience, but there's a difference. The former truth, which is the truth of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is self-dependent, depend on itself, whereas the ilham of the wali depends upon the wahi of the Nabi and is subject to its authority. Now I'll go back and explain all these things to you. Round 2. So, the Prophet ﷺ received truths through wahi. I think that, everybody's fine with that. No need to explain that sentence. Next, the wali receives the same truths through ilham from the same source. What is ilham? Ilham is different from wahi. Difference number 1 is what Imam al-Rabbani himself mentioned, that wahi is in of itself what defines truth. Ilham has to be checked against that wahi. If it's mutabik to wahi, it equals truth. And if it's not mutabiq to wahi, and he has written that elsewhere and it's coming if we have time, if it's not mutabiq to wahi, it will be tossed out. Alright? Proof that people other than anbiya get ilham. So I'm going to do it from my head. So first proof is in Qur'an. When Allah Ta'ala mentions the story of Musa alayhi salam, so Allah Ta'ala says in the Qur'an that He inspired his mother that she should put her baby on the raft. Now, his mother was not a Nabi. So Allah Ta'ala sending communication, Allah Ta'ala sending meaning to a non-Nabi, that is established in Qur'an. That is called ilham. That is called ilham. Okay, I'll give you a second example. From our ummah, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to pray istikhara. What is salatul istikhara? You're asking Allah Ta'ala to inspire your heart with which decision has khair for you. So you're asking Allah Ta'ala to give you inspiration. That's not wahi. You won't call that wahi. So then, looking at this workshop, so you build a workshop of Allah Ta'ala's inspiration, communication of meaning to hearts of non-prophets. So by the time they were done with the workshop, they put a word on it, it's called ilham. Ilham is Allah Ta'ala's communication, inspiration of meaning or feeling to a non-prophet. So I gave you an example from Quran, the mother will say some, example from Hadith, the dua of istikhara, we are asking Allah Ta'ala to inspire our heart with a feeling as to which decision is better. Alright? Okay. That is called ilham. Difference is that wahi equals truth and defines truth itself. Ilham, to check if it's true or not, you have to see if it matches. Wahi means the Quran and Sunnah, that it matches the Quran and Sunnah. Alright? Okay. Then when next, okay, the fuqaha part I already explained to you because you understood that from the workshop in Usul. The Prophet ﷺ received truths in detail, and so does the wali. Now here he's not equating. The wali does not get the same level of detail that the Nabi gets. By detail he meant that tafsil that he explained above. It's hard to do it in English. When he said that Shah Bahauddin Naqshbandi was such a purpose is to know in detail what you know in brief. That's what I explained to you, right? Brief means you just know the text. An ta'budullah ka'annaka tara. Detail means you know the meaning and feelings. So just like the Prophet ﷺ knew the meaning and feelings, so does the wali, but the wali can never equal the Nabi. But understand like this, that every text of Qur'an and every text of Hadith is a part of Allah Ta'ala's hidayah to us. And all of it must have meaning. And all of it is meant to inspire some feeling in us. And obviously humanity must have that potential in them to get the meaning and feeling. Otherwise it would just be about recitation and translation. Those human beings who nubuwwat is what we call wahbi, that Allah Ta'ala gifts, endows, bestows upon the Nabi the meaning and feeling. But the meaning and feeling is now part of Allah Ta'ala's hidayah. Ihsan, to worship Allah as you see Him, is part of instruction and guidance from Allah Ta'ala. Now, Allah Ta'ala gave that rutbatul ihsan to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The ummati is going to have to acquire it, kasbi. So wali means, wilayat means that person who has reached the height of possible human achievement and attainment of the meaning and feeling of the Quran and Hadith. Now that height that a wali gets is way below what Rasulullah ﷺ had. But by detail he means he still gets it. And obviously that's why Allah Ta'ala sent the Quran to us. And the Prophet ﷺ said those things because mean you're supposed to get it. Mean you are supposed to pray like that. Mean you are supposed to feel sabr. We're supposed to do these things. So the person who does it, that's what's called a wali. So in other words, wali has nothing to do with flying in the air, or performing miracles. Wilayat simply means the utmost maximum possible effort in humanity to fully realize the feelings and experience of deen. The internalization and actualization of deen. That person is called a wali. He becomes living deen. Alright? Now the ultimate humans who were living, actualized, realized deen, they were anbiya. Alright? But Allah Ta'ala gave them that level of actualization and realization of deen. Okay? Alright. So, but there's a difference. Okay, so now you can just see in one page of his how much depth there is. Alright? Now you also understood why you need a teacher. So you said, can you give me some readings on this? If you read this on your own, you would have no idea what's going on. Yeah, you would have no idea. Some of you would have just taken away nothing. Some of you could have been misinformed. Some of you could have been misguided. You need a teacher. You need a teacher for things. Alright? Okay. Now I want to show you some things back over here. Because I think that I can just realize the text here is going to be a bit intense for you. So I'm going to show you another thing. Which is basically the concept of awliya. In other words, that we spoke to you a lot about ulama. Who are the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Since this word came. Because basically the highest stage in tazkiyah is called wilaya. So we first have to understand this concept. So when you understand what the goal is of tasawwuf, you'll better appreciate why we definitely want to have a path and a method and a guide and a teacher to reach this goal. This is a goal Allah Ta'ala wants us to achieve. Not every mu'min will become a wali, but actually every mu'min should want to spend their life trying to become a wali. No mu'min will ever know this about themselves, that I'm a wali. But the point is, we know that this exists. This is the highest level that a human being can attain. So if you really, truly, deeply love Allah Ta'ala, you want to be the best. The son who loves his father wants to be the best son they can be for him. Man who loves his wife wants to be the best possible husband he can be for her. Right? So the mu'min who loves Allah Ta'ala wants to be the best abd that he can. That's called waliullah. So now let's show you from Qur'an and... Yeah. Let's show you from Qur'an and say Hadith. Then one day if you came to me and if you understood, there's so much more from the Sunnah to show you. Alright? Who are the awliyaullah? Okay, first this word has come in Qur'an. Allah Ta'ala says, In awliyahu illa al-muttaqoon. That who are the awliya of Allah except for the people of taqwa. So taqwa is the goal. There's no goal beyond taqwa. Taqwa is the crowning achievement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said also in Qur'an, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That indeed the most honored of you in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's esteem is the one who has the most taqwa, highest taqwa, atqa. And then so what happens when a person becomes muttaqi like that? Allah ta'ala says they become my friend. Allah ta'ala gives them another name. They're awliya. His awliya. Awliya'uhu, his awliya. Whose awliya? Allah ta'ala's awliya. They become the friends of Allah. So there's a concept. This is part of our deen. To befriend Allah Ta'ala. That's called tasawwuf and tazkiyah. The path of trying to befriend Allah Ta'ala. Now whether I end up becoming the friend or not, at least I try to spend my life befriending Him. Alright? Okay. Next verse in Quran. What does Allah Ta'ala give these awliya? Okay, they become muttaqeen, they become His friends. What does Allah Ta'ala give His friends? Allah Ta'ala says, Allah inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzunun. And these awliyaullah, there will be no fear on them, nor shall they ever have any sorrow. So if somebody tells you that dekhen ye waliullah log hai na, inke andar bahut barakat hai, and somebody tells you that's shirk, why are you talking like that? Say, but Allah Ta'ala said in Quran, la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzunun. Allah Ta'ala said that there are these people, there's no fear on them, there's no sorrow on them. There's a lot of sukoon in them then. There's a lot, and when I sit with them, where do you sit with them? Allah Ta'ala said in Quran, Kunu ma sadiqeen. Allah Ta'ala said in Quran, Kunu ma sadiqeen. What am I supposed to do? You understand? So this is another big misconception in the ummah. There's no such thing as a wali of Allah, and you don't need to sit with them. That there's no special rank called wali. This is special. La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzunun. This is very special. No fear will ever befall them, nor will they ever have any grief and sorrow. Alright? Now, Ibn Kathir, showing you sometimes the tafsir tradition in the workshop. So who are they? Right? So he quotes a hadith that I'll just show them. Qala rajulan. That one of the companions say, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man awliyaullah. Who are the awliya of Allah? Qal, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, الَّذِينَ إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. That these are the people that even if you gaze upon them, you are reminded of Allah. This is the hadith, and who's citing it? Ibn Kathir. Now, I've already said in English, I'm going to say it in Urdu. ये वो लोग हैं जो देखकर अल्लाह याद आते हैं. वो कहेंगे भाई आप शिर्क कर रहे हो, आपने किसे कह दिया, आपके किसी को देखकर अल्लाह ताला याद आते हैं, आप खुद बराह रास्त अल्लाह को याद करें. भाई मेरे प्यारे नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने फरमाया कि ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको देखकर अल्लाह ताला याद किया जाता है. भाई तो देसी कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये तो हनफी लोग कहते हैं. वो भाई इब्न कसीर जो हनबली थे, मुफस्सिर थे, उन्होंने ये बात हदीस नकल की. You understand or not? Huh? Don't worry if you don't know Urdu. I just said in Urdu what I already told you in English, but in a slightly different cultural style. Yeah. All right. الَّذِينَ إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. So what does it mean? You want to remember Allah, what do you have to do? Just look at them. That's it. It's not shirk, it's hadith. It's hadith accepted by mufassirun, used by them to understand Qur'an. All you have to do is look at them. Qur'an and hadith is teaching you this. Qur'an and hadith is teaching you this. Who are the people of dhikr? Okay? So we say, yeah, these are people who remember Allah. Yes, Allah Ta'ala mentioned there's people like that in Qur'an. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. That they are those people who remember Allah Ta'ala standing, sitting, lying on their sides. وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And they reflect on Allah Ta'ala's natural creation. I did this for you before once, for another reason. So there are people who remember Allah Ta'ala. There are such people. We are alladhina amanu. They are alladhina yadhkurun. Yadhkurun Allah. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned in Quran, رِجَالًا لَا تُلْهِهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْءٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. There are such people that even buying, selling, trading, commerce, nothing can distract them from the remembrance of Allah. وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ. And nothing can distract them from performing the salah and paying their zakah. Alright. And they fear Allah khair. So there's such a category of people. So what does it mean? They always remember Allah. These are what these two verses establish. They always remember Allah Ta'ala. Alright? Next verse, command to keep their company. I've done this for you already. يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. So they exist, and we are told to be with them. Step one, they exist. Awliya exist. Who are their muttaqeen? What does Allah Ta'ala give them? No fear and sorrow. What's their defining attribute? They remember Allah Ta'ala all the time. What are we supposed to do? Be with them. What are we supposed to do? Look at them to remember Allah and be with them and associate with them intimately and deeply. Then in this verse, Surah Kahf, even Allah Ta'ala told Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to keep company of his awliya sahaba. This verse is about the Ashab al-Sufa. Allah Ta'ala tells the Prophet, وَاسْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ. That, O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should hold yourself steadfast in the company مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. That you should hold steadfast and keep yourself in the company of those who lovingly, yearningly call upon their Rabb morning and evening, seeking the expression of His pleasure. وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ. And O Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should not lower your gaze from them. So the two verses in Quran, one which is lower the gaze, and one is do not lower the gaze. One verse, lower the gaze from ghair mahram. This verse, do not lower the gaze from the awliya Allah. Allahu Akbar Kabira. This is Quran. This is Quran Azim Shan. Then, ahead also it says, وَلَا تُطِبْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا. And do not obey that person whose heart we have made empty of our zikr. So this is an establishment of what we call zikr qalbi. That to remember Allah Ta'ala is not from the tongue. The remembrance of Allah Ta'ala is a reality of the heart. And that person who does not have the zikr of Allah Ta'ala in their heart, Allah Ta'ala is saying, don't obey such a person. So somebody says, no, मैंने औलिया ही की बात मानना है. मैंने औलिया ही की बात मानना है. तो ये तो शिर्क है. क्या तो कुरान में लिखा है? औलिया तो थे, मैं किसी और की बात मानू नहीं, सिवाय उसके जिसके दिल में अल्लाह की याद हो. उसकी बात ना मानो जिसके दिल, अल्लाह ताला ने उसके दिल को अपनी याद से गाफिल किया. इस कुरान. But obedience to them means guidance in obedience to Allah Ta'ala and the Messenger, not any independent authority. Not any independent authority. Alright? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now look at this. Sahih Bukhari. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من عباد الله من لو أقسم على الله لأبره. The ha is miswritten. لأبره. That indeed there are some people, some from the servants, worshippers of Allah Ta'ala, that if they were to take qasam, if they were to say something and take Allah's name, لأبره, Allah Ta'ala will make their words come true. Allah Ta'ala will fulfill their words. Allahu Akbar Kabira. If they take qasam with Allah Ta'ala's name, He will make it happen. Now, there's a category of people like that. Sayyidina Rasulullah is teaching us this is sunnah. This is part of your understanding of deen, that there is a special category of people called awliya, muttaqeen, sadiqeen. They have no khawf on them, no huzn. Looking at them makes you remember Allah Ta'ala. You should keep your gazes focused on them. You should be in their company. You should not listen to others than them. And they're so beloved to Allah Ta'ala that when they take qasam, Allah Ta'ala honors their words. Sahih Bukhari. Next hadith. Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim. What is this? Allahu Akbar. This is Ajib hadith. So just we have to enjoy it, so I'm going to do it for you in Arabic. Inna Allah idha ahabba abdan. That for Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the beloved messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna Allah idha ahabba abdan. That when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves one of His servants and slaves, Da'a Jibreel. Allah Ta'ala calls Jibreel to him and faqal and says to him, Inni uhibbu fulanan. That, oh Jibreel, I, Allah, love so-and-so. He tells the angel Jibreel, فَأَحِبُّهُ. Therefore you, Jibreel, you love this person. Qal. So the Prophet said, فَيُحِبُّهُ Jibreel. So then Jibreel starts loving that person. Thumma, and then, Yunada fi samai. A call was issued out in the heavens. فَيُقُول. And it was said by that caller, Inna Allah yuhibbu falanan. Indeed, Allah Ta'ala loves so-and-so. فَأَحِبُّهُ. So, oh, all of you, you love that person. فَيُحِبُّهُ أَهْلُ السَّمَاءِ. That all of the people who live in the heavenly firmaments and realms, means all angels, start loving that person. All. And then Nabi Kareem Sallallahu continued. Thumma, and then, يُضَعُ لَهُ الْقُبُولُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Then that person becomes makbul on earth. Allah Ta'ala puts kubuliyya. Allah Ta'ala attracts all of the people on earth towards them. Sahih Muslim. So if you say, Ya awliya lakim mahbub, now I'll explain the same thing I said in Urdu. Ye waliullah bade mahbub makbul log hote hain. Ne shirk hai aapne kyun samjha? Bhai hum sab insaan hai, sab mahbub hai, sab makbul hai. Sirf Sahih Bukhari Muslim padho. मैं सही मुस्लिम पढ़ा. अल्लाह ताला नबी करीम साहब ने कहा कि कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं कि अल्लाह ताला उनको वो महबूब होते हैं, मकबूल होते हैं. महबूबुल्लाह, महबूबुल मलाइका, मकबूल फिल अर्द. Sahih hadith. These people exist. Now why do you think the Prophet is telling us this just for information? No. The sunnah is irshad. The sunnah is hidayah. Sayyidina Rasulullah is telling this, that know this and go find them. Go find them. Be with them. Ask them to make dua for you. They're makbul. And they take qasam. Allah Ta'ala honors their words. You say, oh, I want to go visit so-and-so. Why do you want to go? I'm going to ask him to make dua for me. Brother, this is shirk. You make dua to Allah Ta'ala yourself. And read. Only Bukhari and Muslim. You say, I read Bukhari, Muslim, Allah Ta'ala said there are people like that. They take Allah Ta'ala's name, Allah Ta'ala fulfills their words. I'm going to ask him to make dua for me. You don't want to ask him. You don't ask him. No problem. Yeah. So you have to get real. This is a real aspect of our deen. Alhamdulillah. Okay, then, Okay, this is what I told you. This is also Sahih Bukhari, very long hadith, but this is when I told you I had elsewhere about the majalis of zikr. Alright? Okay, so Allah Ta'ala sends His angels, يَتُوفُونَ فِي الطُّرُقِ, and they travel and circle around all the paths. يَلْتَمِسُونَ أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ, they're searching for the people of zikr. They're searching for the people of zikr. فَإِذَا وَجِدُوا قَوْمًا يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهِ, so when they find a group of people making the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so now there's only really one part of this I wanted to show you in Arabic. I'll just tell you I'll summarize this for you in English basically. It's a very long hadith. But the Prophet basically said that Allah Ta'ala sends angels looking for the people who are remembering Him. They find such people. Allah Ta'ala asks them, what are they doing? The angels say, oh, they're praising you, glorifying you, etc. Allah Ta'ala says, have they seen my Jannah? They say no. Angels say no, they haven't. What would it have been like if they had seen my Jannah? Allah Ta'ala, they would have probably done more. What else are they doing? They're asking your forgiveness, seeking refuge from you in Jahannam. Have they seen my Jahannam? No. What would have happened if they saw Jahannam? Allah Ta'ala, they would have probably even more earnestly asked you they would even more earnestly begged you for forgiveness. So then Allah Ta'ala says, okay, my angels, now watch this. I call you to witness that I hereby grant pardon. I forgive all of them. And I grant them whatever they were asking. And I grant them protection against what they were seeking protection from. Okay, this is Sahih Muslim. Now what's this? Allahu Akbar. Yakulu malakum mina malaika. One of the angels from the angels, he says to Allah Ta'ala, what? Fihim fulanun. That, Ya Allah, from amongst this group who are making zikr, there is so-and-so, who's gone for a long time. He just showed up, maybe because he wants to get married. Huh? Fihim fulanun. That in that there's a, laysa minhum. He's not from them. He's not one of the regular participants in the gathering of zikr. He's not from them. Innama ja'a lihajatin. The angel, it outs him. He came only because of a hajah, because of some worldly need. So he thought that, okay, I have this worldly problem, I have a worldly need, I'll go sit with these pious people, they'll be making dua to Allah, I'll make dua to Allah with them. This is also part of deen. This also happens. But the angel is saying, Allah, you're forgiving all of them, but one of them isn't really from them. So Allah Ta'ala responds, Allahu Akbar. Humul julasa'u la yashka bihim julisuhum. That they are such people who sit, julasa, majlis zikr. They are the ones who they sit and they remember me. Anyone who sits with them, jalis, they will also never be deprived of my mercy and forgiveness. Means even that occasional bystander, visitor, auditor, who's sitting with them, although he's not really one of them, they're such people. Allah Ta'ala didn't say, my mercy is such that. It will, no. Humul julasau. Urdu, ye aise babarkat log hain, कि कोई उनके पास बैठ भी जाए, वो मेरी रहमत मगफरत से महरूम नहीं हो सकता. Sahih Muslim. Allah Ta'ala saying, Sayyidina Rasulullah is transmitting that Allah Ta'ala said this to the angels, that they are such people. Not that my mercy is such that I will encompass them also. They are such people that anyone who even sits with them, they will never be deprived of my mercy and forgiveness. Because they are such people. So we showed you from Qur'an, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. Alright? Okay, there's more, but I think this is enough for you to understand. Alright? SubhanAllah, this is another hadith in Sahih Bukhari about Allah Ta'ala loves is the famous one. Allah says, when I love my servant, I become the ears through which he hears, the eyes through which he sees. Achieve expression of love. فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُ كُنْتُ سَمْعُهُ الَّذِي يَسْمَعُ بِهِ وَبَصَرُهُ الَّذِي يُبْصِرُ بِهِ وَيَدُهُ الَّتِي يَبْتِشُ بِهَا وَرِجْلُهُ الَّتِي يَمْشِ بِهَا وَإِن سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ. And when he asks me, I grant it to them. This is the proof from Sahih Bukhari. There are such people who du'as are accepted. It's Sahih Bukhari. There are such people. وَإِن سَأَلَنِي. Allah Ta'ala saying, if they ask me, لَأُعْطِيَنَّهُ. Definitely, certainly, I will grant them what they ask. There are people like this. There are people like this. Alright? So that's why when there are people like this, so the word ulama, now to wrap up the whole course basically in a few minutes, ulama and awliya, this is who we are. But we are the tradition, our deen is the tradition of the ulama and awliya. We take our knowledge from ulama and we learn zikr and tazkir from awliya. We learn tafsir from mufassirun, we learn hadith from muhaddithun, we learn fiqh from fuqaha, we learn zikr from zakirin, we learn taqwa from muttaqin. All of this is in Qur'an and Sahih Hadith. Alhamdulillah. Allah Ta'ala has not left us as orphans. Yes, we are unfortunate that we were not born, created and born by Allah Ta'ala in the time of Sayyidina Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But they say in Urdu, abhi bhi log hain. It's another thing I was mentioning is, the existence of ulama and awliya is necessary for these texts to still be valid today. For deen to be valid, the Qur'an and Hadith must be practicable, must be kamal amal. So to do these things, kunu ma sadiqeen and all these things, there will always be ulama and awliya in every age as long as the ummah is on earth. Always. That's your choice. You want to take deen from your aql and from books, or you want to take deen from the ilm of the ulama and you want to learn from the hearts of the awliya. Everyone will make that choice. So one objective of these 5 days was to inform you of this reality, to clear up all types of misconceptions that have been, unfortunately, perpetuated so much in different segments of society, to make you understand how this tradition works, that is very deep. It's not so easy to just cherry pick, that there is a serious effort behind every effort of ilm. There's a serious effort of zikr, a serious effort at tazkiyah. If a person even wants a drop of wilaya, a serious, sustained effort, zuhud, like the Ashab al-Sufa, that will sometimes require even a dedicated full-time extraction for some period of time to heal that person's spiritual heart, to cure that person's nafs. This is an effort. Our deen is a deen of effort. So we make dua that Allah Ta'ala accept us, that this is not the end, but this purpose of this course was to invite you to make a beginning. Purpose of, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't reached the end. I have finally, at least to some extent, brought you to the beginning. Brought you to the beginning. The beginning is this, that I want to learn my ilm from ulama, and I want to learn the zikr from zakirin. Now comes the beginning, now comes the commitment, now comes the learning, now comes the training. But again, that is your choice. That is your choice. Whether you want to do it, to what extent you want to do it, how far you want to take it, how committed you want to be to it. It's always your choice. It's never our choice. No teacher can ever themselves determine how committed their student will be. The student determines how committed they are. But there is vast, vast landscape, vast potential in our deen. Forget even what a person would get in akhirah. That life that is lived for the sake of this sharia, the zahir of sharia ilm, and the batin of sharia tazkiyah, even that life is a beautiful life to live. You have to trust me on it if you haven't understood it by now. That life that you see out there, which is all materialism, money, fame, status, stature, pomp, enjoyment, recreation, leisure, entertainment, it's all fluff. None of it will go with you in the grave. Your ilm, your amal, your zikr, your taqwa, your haya, your sunnah will go with you into the grave, and it will take you and help you when you come out of your grave. None of that stuff out there is going with you. None of it. And none of it's going to help you when you're resurrected back. So we need to think. Those of you who are young, it's never too early to do the right thing. It's never too early to do a good thing. And those of you who are older, it's never too late. It's never too late. There's only one time it's too late, and that's when Malakul Maut comes to visit you. Then it's too late now. Now there's no more amal, no more tawbah. Even the tawbah of Pharaoh, when he was being drowned, it wasn't accepted, because he saw death in front of him. When you see death in front of you, there's no more tawbah, there's no more amal. That you have to do it when you're living. And best is to do it when you're young. Better is to do it when you're young, and best to do it when you're younger. It requires commitment. That's why Allah Ta'ala, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu said that is also a category of people who will be under the shade of Allah Ta'ala's arsh. The youth who gave their youth for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The youth who spent their youth in the obedience, remembrance, worship, love for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Now for those of you who are still young, and here youth means up till age 40 Islamically. Lunar 40. So mashallah, few of you, more than you that thought perhaps, are still in that category. Khair, may Allah Ta'ala accept it from us. Okay, jazakum Allah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.